Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
Hey, and this is Jack, Chief Lead Generation Officer at salesbread.com. Today we have an interesting cast.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
you're not for long, right? Because you're gonna resign from your own company today, and I'm going to resign from QuickMail.io. No, it's
no,
true, guys.
hypothetical.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, yes.
But we are going to create then a new lead generation agency together.
Yep.
Well, hypothetically, and
That's right.
let's see what we would do. It's has to be outreach, cold outreach,
Yeah.
so good stuff.
So you should listen in because we're basically going to explain the steps we would take if we were starting a lead generation agency from scratch, using nothing but outbound to, get our first
So
clients
easy.
in the door with this new, sort of with this new agency. Yeah.
But before
Okay.
that,
Before that, a quick word from our sponsors. Thank you, Jeremy. Salesbread.com, I am not resigning from, realizes that most B2B companies lack the time and or expertise to turn cold prospects into warm, qualified leads. At salesbread.com, we help you get one lead per day or more using ultra personalized, seriously ultra personalized cold emails and LinkedIn outreach. Go to salesbread.com/contact, get in touch, talk strategy with me, tell me what you're working on. Maybe we'll come up with something interesting, salesbread.com.
Great. And if you're a lead generation agency, funnily enough, because of the cast, and you need to do cold outreach with email, do yourself a favor and then give it a QuickMail a go. QuickMail.io. It comes up with a whole lot of things, but just request a demo. I'll jump on a demo with you, and then I'll show you how amazing life can be when you have a lead generation agency and you're using QuickMail.io instead of other tools, which I will remain nameless. All right.
Well said and too true. Okay, Jeremy, so to paint the picture, there's a French saying, I believe I heard it a long time ago. It says, a broken man is broken. And that is exactly how I would feel if I had to resign from SalesBread, because it's fun and I like it. And
oh yeah, I'm still staying in QuickMail.io.
Yeah, but hypothetically, that is the world that we've painted here. And now let's start our own lead generation agency together. So what is the first step?
So easy. It's like I will basically hire someone at salesbread.com and resell the package to other people. But of course, we'll need to reach out to the other people. And I think that's what is fun in a lead generation agency. That's why I like working with lead generation agencies, because they need to do the outreach themselves on behalf of their client, and meaning they need to do plenty of different outreach. And I think that's what is fun. They got to try a lot of things, experiment and so on, but at some point also standardize, what they are having to offer.
Right.
So who do we?
So what do you mean?
Yeah, who do we go after? What do we offer? Those sort of thing.
Yeah.
That probably would be one of the first thing we want to do. Like,
right.
What's your product in a sense, right?
Correct. And I think that comes down to what does the marketplace need right now?
Yep.
It could be, hey, lead gen is so expensive, let's be a cheaper option. Hey, lead gen is so crappy, let's be a really good option. Whatever. In my opinion,
find what's unique. Yes.
Exactly. And then hopefully that matches with some of our strengths, Jeremy. But for sake of the podcast, what if we decided we're going to be the white glove, completely top shelf outreach with personalization, with expensive data, with all the stuff that a team wishes they could bring on immediately, right?
Yeah, I like it. I still need to talk with my co-founder, namely yourself, but we'll probably need to think about like what package do I actually want to sell.
Yeah.
Most agencies that I talk to are usually selling products between 2,500 to 3,000. You also have I have three categories. I would say there's the people who sell for 800, 700 a month, dollar.
Kind of like the freelance VAs, maybe.
Interesting. Yeah. We could come back to that. But then you have like the middle tier that is 2,500 to 3,000. And then you got the high tier, which is about 5K, 7K, and 10K kind of thing on a per client basis.
Right.
which means it could be quite lucrative, if you do it well and you have processes in place, and that kind of help. Okay.
Yeah. So we've selected our offering. We're going to be closer to the higher end because we think the marketplace needs that, and there's not enough of that, which I do feel. And the next thing we need is to pick a niche to service. Now, niche could be, let's say, HR companies, right? Let's go very, very fine and say we're going to do this outreach for HR companies, and that would be fine. But it could also mean companies in this growth stage. Let's go a little bit broader. Maybe they've got a marketing department, funding, and they're at this kind of size, but there's not a huge sales team behind this effort. Maybe we can service them, right? You just want to find out where in the marketplace you're going to do the best. I'm just curious, Jeremy, if you were starting a lead generation agency, would you go super defined with a particular industry? Would you go a little broader? How would you slice that?
This is very interesting. I had a conversation with other lead generation agency founders, and it was like super interesting because some of them are like so weird in who they're zeroing in. Like we had people who were going after design architect agencies only in this category. It was like things I never heard of, pretty much. It's like, there must be like 20 in the world. I didn't quite get it. But you also have things like people who redesign bathroom only. It was like very weird. Like you do have, or roofer as a very typical example that we have sometimes some agency going after. But I would probably go with what I know, like personal, network first, which would probably be, founders, SaaS businesses, B2B, stuff like that, that, we live in daily.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take
probably
that
tech as well.
Okay. So the beautiful thing is in the beginning, you're allowed to choose a really narrow focus and then slowly expand on, right? I think about what, Tim Ferriss's books started off as like a productivity 4-hour work week thing, kind of like work focused. And then he kind of amassed a following there and then put out a health book. And then after that, he wrote a cook. And so like by this point, he could write a book on redoing bathrooms the right way in less time. And it would be a bestseller just because he's at that level. But in the beginning, Jeremy, why don't we say we're going to stick to our guns, maybe your guns here, and go after B2B technology companies? Because that's what you know best. And what this opens is low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit is going to be our best friend, especially in the beginning when we're trying to get our first dozen clients or something. So why don't we put a campaign together on people that you know? There's no shame in working your network to get your first couple clients.
Not afraid of heights.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's going to go wrong? But just to be clear, though, do you agree that's the best starting point? Is like niche down to what you know and then reach out to people you know in that world. Why not?
In fact, if you're currently watching this episode and you currently have a business and you're trying to do a side hustle, you could still contact your own sort of even your own company, the company you're working for, and then just saying like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this sort of like lead gen on the side kind of thing, and then start generating leads for them, and then if that works, and sometime it does, then you start building your own sort of company like that.
So, okay, wait, I think you just mapped out the first campaign. Would it be to reaching out to people that you have worked with in the past?
Saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's like, if you're working at that company, just reach out to your boss and just say like, hey, I'm thinking of doing that. Can I actually generate leads for you first?
Oh, interesting.
That would be like, the really beginning, but otherwise you're absolutely 100% right. This is how you should be doing, like create a campaign, reach out to your network and saying like, hey, I'm starting to build up, this agency. Of course, it's still very early age. So, it's like, it's a trust thing. You provide maybe a discounts on the behalf of, a good testimonials or whatever kind of thing you actually want to put in.
It's a good point, but let's elaborate a little bit. Let's spend maybe 2 more minutes here on what that campaign would say. I'm thinking it's either one of 2 ways, and I think I know what you're going to recommend. It's either the, hey, John, we know each other. I'm thinking of starting this agency to do lead gen for, B2B companies, technology companies. I have some questions. I'm just curious, like what you'd be looking for. I want to make sure this white glove approach that we're going with is actually valuable. Can we hop on a call? Notice we didn't sell John anything. We just want him to join us for a little Q&A. Or you could actually say like, hey, John, I'm starting this new agency. I think it'd be perfect for your company. We know each other. I know I don't have a lot of case studies to back it up. So I can do a discounted thing for you guys. And if you love it, maybe we'll just create a little review, and you could be like, one of our earlier companies. We'll give you like full concentration. We take this very seriously. So which approach would you do?
There's a third one actually, which is, hey, Jack, I'm starting this new lead generation agency company. This is specifically targeted for B2B companies in tech space that does X, Y, Z. Would you know anyone in your network that you think we could generate leads for?
So good.
And who would actually benefit from that? Because then you don't put them on a
John's
spot.
going to say, oh, me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, why don't you start with me? Oh, hi, so that would be the ideal outcome. But I think that's a good one.
Even if you said like, hey, do you know any B2B SaaS companies that might use this? Just note, like, we're planning on doing a crazy discount for like the first 2 people we bring in. I don't know if it's relevant, or we're planning on doing a X for these first 2 people. Make it special so that they have the more incentive to say, oh, maybe I would be a good fit. Let's talk, right? So, okay, so we'd probably try all 3 approaches, right? We've got a couple hundred.
You're absolutely right, and that's the right answer. Is like try all 3. Of course, you may have like a small network, so you may have to like bet on one. But I would go from the less committed.
You won't have a small network. You won't have a small network because the niche you chose was the one you've been in. Even if you've been in it fresh out of school or something, you were going to choose the one that's closer to you.
It could be, yet you could still have only like 10 people, in your close network, right? You want to start with. And my advice would always be start early and start with less commitment possible, which is like, would you recommend me someone as a first, lower commitment? Then the next commitment will be like, hey, I'm wondering if, you guys would think this is a good idea or would be interested. Or actually the other way around, right? First, this is a good idea. Would you be interested? Then, would you know anyone that would be interested? And then third, like, hey, would you guys actually be buying a software, a service like that? And would you actually want to be in?
That's cool. Okay, so Jeremy, if we were in this lead gen company at this point, let's say we worked our network just to get 3 people in the door to do some, maybe it's a discounted service, maybe it's a shorter commitment. Make it easy on them because you're new in the space. You kind of have to in exchange for this case study. But I would almost pause all outreach at this point and way over deliver to the first 3 people that you bring in, blow their minds, make them say to their friends, you got to check these people out. At the very least, make them give you the best glowing recommendation under the sun because you truly over deliver. And I think a lot of listeners may either say, this is great, I'm going to do that, or I'm worried that the focus will be on, no, I need to sell more. But the best marketing you can do is to have a great product. Never forget that and blow the first 3 people's minds, right? And then you probably get a 4th and maybe a 5th just from those first 3. People know each other in this world, right?
I like your approach, and I would double down on this one if you were alone. Because I would say, like, because we're like 2 co-founders in this special case, like one will actually be focusing on delivering exactly, while the other one will still carry on the sort of outreach efforts.
Good point. It's a really good point. Yeah, and assuming quality was serious.
Here's sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But here's the interesting thing is at the end of the day, and I've seen a lot of lead generation agencies websites, and I know the sort of like how many customers they have based on, how many, clients, accounts in QuickMail they have. Some of them, they don't have much testimonial at all, but yet they still have a ton of, of clients. So a lot of things don't happen online. It happened like sort of like offline, right?
Good point. So meaning word of mouth, maybe.
But my point is, like, if you find a winning campaign, something that resonates in your market, then you can potentially unlock like a really big gate of like, of leads. And therefore you don't need to do sort of like discounts. You don't need to do some sort of like things you have to do at the very beginning. So I would probably pursue those 2 sort of initiatives if I can, if we were like multiple people in a company.
So meaning one, initially you reach out to first degree, maybe offer them kind of an incentive to come in early, and then another is just pure cold outreach,
Yep.
going after new clients. Okay, so
And
I do
yep,
think, right, some prospects aren't going to need to see testimonial videos and a
correct.
bunch of case studies and social proofs. That is true. It will help though. Those things do help. I've found that as long as your online presence looks good enough to say, "Hey, boss, we're looking at this," and if she says, "Yeah," if it passes the CEO quick 5-second test, because CEOs don't really spend that much time on stuff like that. They just want to make sure it doesn't look crazy. Then you're kind of good on the social proof side.
Well, the funny
What do
thing
you
is,
think?
I think most of the game is won at retention. Like acquiring customer is not that hard these days, especially when you go after the American market, which is like way more fluid when it comes to trying something new.
Yeah,
Then, you know, people may say like, oh, well, why not? We could try it if you actually find those people. And then,
yeah,
but they will judge you very quickly on your results. So you still need
sure.
to deliver. That's what your retention is. So you're going to have to figure out like, am I having a difficulty bringing new people in or keeping them? Right.
Always, if you have a problem keeping, then
That's that's the biggest. Yeah.
I mean, the way my brain works is like, I would stop all growth activities until that's been bottled up, because then, as you know, churn is going to make or break the what is it, the income statements or whatever. So also, and probably more important, is when you have a very good service, people talk and people will tell their friends that, like,
That's
that's,
super important. Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Like, that's why I think do not full stop, do not pass go until you have something that people are very happy with. And otherwise, it's just an uphill battle. Get a client, lose a client, get a client.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
for
It
sure,
just,
for sure.
I wouldn't want to be involved in that. So, where are we at? We have a first campaign to our initial network. Now we're starting to do classic cold outreach, maybe using case study and a testimonial to back it up, or at least make the website pass the CEO test. What's next?
In parallel, as a side note, I build it in public, which means, you know, generate as much noise as possible on, you know, Twitter, for example, or whatever is your favorite social network where you can get your clients. I think that's important. If none of your clients are on the social network, what's the point in building in public?
Yeah,
But then like
interesting.
mentioning like you're winning, here is, you
Huh,
know, some new clients we just acquired again, maybe not necessarily
huh.
name them, but it's like, hey, we reached finally 5 clients, we're serving,
Yeah,
like, oh, we generated X. Keep building in public because that will generate automatically, organically
interesting,
some noise, and people will want to check you out if you have
interesting.
successes. um,
That's cool.
then the next thing is effectively like, yeah, what campaigns do we build? Of course, you need to build a campaign for your clients, but for us specifically, then what
Hmm.
do we do next?
So I would probably hire at this point. Once we have some clients in the door, a process that works and over delivers, I'm bringing in a team member that can offload a lot of the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And so that'll free up some of our time to do our sales and marketing stuff. I would probably look for just a true fast learning freelancer that can come in and work full time. I would go full time right away. James Schramko was on the cast, like, a couple hundred episodes ago, whatever. But he was a big
It's like
proponent of
longer. Yeah.
hiring two. So maybe we would hire two people to come in, learn some of the processes. Definitely personalization would be first on my list to train, followed by handling responses. Those are like two no-brainers. And that might free up half of my time if I was the operation guy. And then we'd go find hopefully double our clients using outbound. And I think we want to spend a couple minutes on this campaign, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how would we get some Mo clients once we have a process that's working? So the obvious thing, targeting wise, do what's been working. Don't get creative, right?
Yep. I think one thing I will do is probably a discovery campaign, which means like as we're getting onboarding new clients, I will ask them that question about like, hey, what made you say yes in the beginning? You know, we're signing the contract, for example. It's like, hey, do
Yeah,
you mind like telling me like at what moment did you actually decided, yes, I want to go with these guys,
Mm.
because then I will learn a few things that could be, for example, or I have a hunch that it could be that. It could be a process, like, the more you remove uncertainty, the better, people will go with you, or the more confident they'll be to go with you. So that if you come to tell them like, hey, here's how it's going to look like working with us. The first 10 days, you're going to do this. The next 20 days, this is what's going to happen, and so on and so on. And then you have a sort of like process or back and forth and so on. And you basically take care of that. Then people will say, oh, that's fine. Not only I pay them to get me a result, but also to drive that process. And driving the process is also something very valuable as a business, as someone else, right? Because you're buying your time.
That's a great point. Okay, so you have the process in place. That's going to help with the sales. That's going to help with onboard.
And then it's the second point is effectively, if we realize this is what really helps with us, is like, hey, we could then reach out to people and say, hey, thanks to our 9-step, process, because then now that's what you advertise, right? We've been able to generate, X number of leads, to on average to every company joining us. Like, does that number seems, a number that would get you excited?
That's very cool. And now you've got some stats that we all crave. And again, think about you're in charge of this marketing and sales budget. It's going to make you look bad if you invest that poorly. I know a lot of companies understand there's some inherent risk involved, but you want to go with a surefire bet. And companies with a proven track record help reduce that risk, aka make you look smarter when the campaigns look good, right? So your job is to make your point person look like a genius, sort of. So any asset you can build, such as case studies or this onboarding series, all that stuff is magic for that. I'm just wondering, okay, so actually that was a campaign. It's like, hey, check it out. These are the results that we've been driving for these kinds of businesses. Do some name dropping. Does that sound like something worth chatting about? Simple as that.
I would probably also do the referral as part of our process as well, making sure we get as much referral as we can, maybe in the first 10 days or whatever, like add it into our process so that we can then start another campaign straight away to the people who refer, like, hey, Jack, who would you, I know that's been a couple of weeks we've been working with. Thank you so much for, this. Would you think anyone else in your market would actually benefit from those sort of, like, as you give the first batch of leads, or some stuff like that, as part of the process, like people are excited and say, oh, that's cool. Yeah. That could be something. And that would be your own sort of like personal reach out campaign, like say, hey, Jack, cravings about you and think would benefit, whatever.
So true. Okay. So, and then at that point, Jeremy, what do we have? We've got a process for getting new accounts.
You can retire. That's it. Job done.
Great one, Jeremy. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Let's take a moment. I'm good.
Yeah. Let's take a moment to continue this daydream and talk about course.quickmail.io. Jeremy and I put together a cold email masterclass. People like it. It is at course.quickmail.io, and it basically is the mental organized brain dump of how to run effective cold email campaigns.
Yeah, we forgot that. Honestly, I mean, if I wanted to start something and want to deliver a result for my client, I probably will start with that, actually.
Yeah.
And of
then
course,
use
you
that
will
as training.
buy Quickmail.io, which is obviously there's no other better way for doing it by emails, of course.
And then we would, make sure the team that we brought on got access to the training as well, because that's going to save hours in figuring out how to coach them on learning effective outreach, which is kind of essential here. Okay, so I think now we're almost talking about scaling. Do we want to have a brief chat on that? Scaling. Okay, so eventually, well, that's a good question. Where does it go? How many team members does it take to run an agency, right? Like, how would you organize it, I suppose?
Oh, this is very interesting, because we have, that's something that actually fascinates me because people put in Quickmail, when you create an organization, you can add as many people as you want. We don't charge you for that. And so therefore we see the real number of people actually just needing access to Quickmail for
the touch campaigns.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's what's interesting to me, is that this varies enormously. like at the same number of clients, sometimes you have like 3 people, or sometimes you have like 5, 10 people. And it's really odd to me to see that there is no real like one way of running things. We have one agency that has like 200 accounts and they have only 5 people managing it. Like, brilliant. Super awesome.
Pretty efficient. Yeah. Okay.
It's like crazy. Next to that, you have people with just 20 clients, and they have like 7 people or 8 people. And it's like, I don't know if there is a finite number that works for us. What would you go for?
Yeah, well, let's just keep in mind the ball we don't want dropped is customer happiness, right? The people have to continue to be thankful that they signed up before it was too late or before a competitor jumped in. Like we need to make that the priority. So the stupid answer is like however many team members it takes to achieve that. And fortunately, it's not going to be a giant number, and you don't scale overnight. It's not like you double clients every day and you have to crazily kind of gradual. It's kind of like having kids. Like you, for the most part, have them one at a time, and you can adjust as you know what I mean, as things get wilder.
You get 2 in one go, but
yeah. So I think business is kind of the same. Like you can have, and you should have periodic visits. Like, okay, like is the company going in the right direction, etc.
Here's what I'd like to suggest. If you guys have a lead generation agency and you're thinking of that, I think that will set you on a success growth path. I would every month send a small questionnaire, like the small, and determine the NPS score, which is basically, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you actually recommend this? Like, because then you can take all your evangelists and say, hey, thanks so much for the 9 this month. Do you happen to know anyone that would be interested? And of course they will,
So true.
For everyone else, there will be an indicator. Even the detractor, like, is going to churn very soon. If he's going under 6, for example, we need to look into this account. And so that will give us an advantage of being able to manage the account at the higher level.
Right. That's so smart.
And of course, we'll have a campaign for that, right? It will be an automated campaign for the NPS.
Interesting.
And
yeah, I have a friend with another service business, and he has kind of early-ish clients. I say, hey, are you happy with the service? Just wanted to check in and make sure like everything's exactly as expected. And anytime there's like positive feedback to that question, then prompted to like, okay, great. And by the way, if there's anyone that you think would enjoy this as well, feel free to share this link with them or something. And it just found like it's a nice way to bake in referrals, this process. That's very smart. As an agency owner, I'm not always thinking about these processes that grow that SaaS may really embrace.
Absolutely.
So for me, that's really cool stuff. Okay, so I think the idea is like at this stage, you would have to have kind of a philosophical discussion on where you want the business to go, if it's going to be serving 10,000 clients in 10 years, or keep it smaller to maintain, I don't know, something. There's benefits to both, right?
I got the feeling that at this stage, you're really wondering, do I want to grow with more sort of like white glove to each individual person, and then for that will require a lot of people, or do I want like that really well packaged offers, and I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to let people go if they don't actually package.
It's a great point. And
but of course it will affect your pricing, right? It's like, yes, we still do the white glove, but it's 10K a month, or no, it's the $800 a month, but we can do 100 people or whatever.
Sure, that's a great call. But where I'd like to leave this is not necessarily saying this path is better than that path, because I don't really think there is a correct path, but the founders should love the one that they choose, should believe in it. And I think you've made a good choice as long as the clients that you keep are very happy, right? Like it still comes back to that. Plus, you want to have a good time growing the business. You don't want to do something that's like not aligned with what you're looking for. But it's kind of, we discussed it in 30 minutes. It's not terribly complex, right? Not really.
Yeah.
Anything else that we left out on what we would do in the Jack and Jeremy agency?
No, like I mentioned, at this stage, you're already like thinking of exiting, sharing your shares, and off you go, like handing over. You got your manual, you got.
Yeah.
But the last thing I would say is that you probably would want to make sure that all the positions are filled. And after that, see which one is scaling, which one it doesn't. Like you're mentioning, like someone responsible for personalization. Maybe it's a tool that we're using for that. Maybe it's a process we're using for that. Whatever it is, you're going to have also the need for someone to check the responses. You're going to have the need for communicating with your clients, whether it's you, whether it's like a formalized report every month, whatever it is. Like one thing we did in QuickMail really recently that surprised me, but then suddenly a lot of people actually needed it, is cost per client. And I was like kind of like surprised, because basically I was thinking like, well, it's no brainer. You sell your client for $2,500 and then you pay $69 a month for QuickMail. And it's like such a great deal. There's no like price is not an issue here. But what happened, and I found out, is that some agency actually managed to ramp up and down the number of inboxes that do the outbound campaigns. And so it makes it very difficult to figure out like how much this client really cost me.
Interesting.
And yeah, and so now we added like a report. You click on a button and then you get your report for all your clients. And every month then they got the chief financial officer that comes and then grab the stuff and then can reconcile its cost for cost of clients. Yeah, it's funny. Cool. I didn't think of those things, but they're funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, when you serve other agencies, you kind of pick up like very helpful things that aren't always obvious to the average, cold emailer, right? So I think to wrap it up, if you are an agency looking to grow, I highly recommend course.quickmail.io. It's
or just quickmail.io.
Yeah, no, but that's a follow-up. And yeah, like use the right tools.
Yeah, that's true. Use the right tool, because otherwise you're gonna complain. Like I know one friend who is actually using a free software, but it's like, man, every time we talk, I'm like, why don't you just QuickMail? It's like he's got enough money as well from his client. I just don't get it. I just don't get it, because the massive pain is going through to switch, accounts to switch. It's like, you shouldn't have to do that. Like, anyway, it's just like,
pick your battles.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Pick your battles.
If you want to grow your business, then, don't
yeah. I mean, you could build it from scratch, but you'll be years behind this discussion right here, I suppose, right? It'll just, what a frustrating world to be in. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful.
All right.
Hey, you know what, Jeremy, if in the future we ever do this agency, I like our prospects here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and build your list. You never know when you will start your agency, so we should start building the list right now. Send us an email, podcast@quickmail.io.
That's right. Get on the wait list, TBD.
Get on the waiting list. All right, awesome. Cool, I'll think about it, Jack. Thanks.
Okay, in the meantime, I can still be reached at salesbread.com. Do not worry, I'm not leaving you guys anytime soon. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Jack.